welcome to the first episode of the Uni Fied podcast. My name is Charlie, and I'm going to be your host for this week. I'm here with Sam.
Hello.
And Kier.
Hello.
This is a brand new podcast, as you're aware. Welcome. Thank you for clicking to watch our episode 1. We're very new, of course, very new to the podcast game. But we figured that, everyone else is doing a podcast now, so why not us get on it as well? This is going to be a podcast where we basically talk about anything and everything, really. But this is maybe, to put a bit of our sort of speciality on it, we're going to talk about it from a point of view from students at university. That's our speciality. Right, yes, so, I like podcasts. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
No, I find myself listening to podcasts more and more in the last year or so. I've got a couple now that I listen to regularly. But I don't particularly like the ones that are too structured, which is why we've spoken about doing this a bit more casually.
True.
It's sort of the opposite for me, I suppose. I've mainly been interested in these quite, I suppose, intellectual podcasts. That's how I got into it, a couple of philosophy and politics ones, which is also why I thought this would be quite a fun idea to, just have a little casual, chatty podcast and see it from that angle, I guess.
Yeah, see, now, everyone knows, probably. If you're listening to this, then, you listen to podcasts, but most people, I'm sure, would know of at least one or two sort of intellectual, educational podcasts. And, I figured that, I'm a student. We're all students at the University of Edinburgh, by the way. Mm-hmm. But, we're not particularly informed about a whole lot of stuff. So why not, as uninformed students, give it a go to talk about, very educational things and potentially funny things, potentially serious things.
Because people love to hear students just rant about things they have no idea
about.
I
I do actually think it's quite important, because I think a lot of the problem with experts talking about stuff these days is there is absolutely no it's almost like quite not a patronising sense of it, but all the experts speak in a way that's kind of like, oh, you should definitely know this. Is such an obvious way of thinking without actually ever having somebody who sits down and goes, hang on, what the hell is going on here? I don't quite understand this. I
could agree with that.
It's very isolated from people normally speaking about the way people discuss stuff in normal life. You don't really speak in the way that experts do.
You don't. Well, how often do you realistically meet an expert at anything? But then you often hear a lot of people when they try and they lecture you about things. Why not have it from people you've never met before who aren't famous, mm-hmm. and you absolutely would never have heard of our names?
Yeah.
So thank you for listening.
Our opinions are
thank
much
you
more
for thanks for clicking on us. Right. So what are we going to do over the next few episodes? So the plan was, we like to talk about really anything. So why not today talk about what happened in the news?
Yep.
Because where better to start than discussing the news? That completely neutral and non-biased source of information, the news.
Well, the BBC.
That is such a southern. There's gonna be anybody listen who's not from the south of England is just listen to you going, "Oh, the BBC's really unbiased," and they're gonna have a bit of a fit.
I'm not totally unbiased, but I'd say it's intended to be. And if Laura Koonsberg aside, it's not too bad. And you can't really get much bias with some of the stuff you see on it. Maybe when it comes to politics, but
I suppose when you compare us to sort of some American companies that shall remain nameless for copyright issues, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, we are very good. I suppose, it's very neutral in that sense, but more in terms of if we bring up anything, then it might be quite controversial. I'm going to whip out many controversial things over my time on this podcast, of course. Why not do that? You don't know my face, you don't know what I look like, so you can't come beat me up, can you?
I feel like we do. We have enough contrasting positions. For the different opinions we have, I feel we've got lots to discuss from. And there's not going to be a single view. We're gonna. I expect we'll probably agree on a lot of things, but I think we'll probably disagree on quite a few as well. In fact, I know we will, given the conversations we've had in the past.
I'm sure we will probably absolutely disagree on some things, but that's fine. I mean, how boring would it be if we always said, "Oh yes, I agree, blah 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 blah." I think that should be that. Yeah, I agree. Anyway, so what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with coronavirus?
Yeah,
I think first, I mean, maybe
We're all going to die.
Lovely positive start. We've ditched the structured intro, and now it's just like shit. We're all gonna die. Let's have a last
maybe before we go
minute
to
talk.
that, might be worth saying a bit more about ourselves than just our names. We
Okay,
could say
all
something
right,
about
that's fair
studying,
enough, that is
that
true.
sort of thing. So I suppose I can kick us off. I'm Sam. I am studying philosophy and politics, and well, I'm attempting to switch to it, and I've just sent off my form for it now. So hopefully soon that will be official. Anyway, on to one of you guys.
Hi, Charlie. Already said my name, but yes, no, I'm studying Russian and politics, which makes me very qualified to talk about things such as science and
Russian
major
pandemics.
issues as well. Yeah, exactly. Geography as well, history, things like that.
I'm Keir. I'm studying international relations, and I'm from Scotland. Though, to be honest, the accent will come out at certain parts, depending on how annoyed I get about a specific issue. But apart from that, no.
Yeah, we all go to Scotland. We all go to uni in Edinburgh, as I've said before.
But I'm the one Scottish person. I'm going to
And
take
we
that
have one
title.
Scottish person. If anything, that shows, that's the demographic of Scotland already.
It's our diversity quota filled.
2 English people, 1 Scottish.
Wow, harsh.
Yeah, sorry.
So I
Yeah,
suppose
we're all
with
going to
that out of the
die.
way,
That's
we
what I
can,
said. What do you think
potentially
about that?
Move on to the interesting stuff, which was pandemics and whether we're all going to die
Yeah.
from coronavirus.
See, I've got a
What's your
friend.
plan? If,
I've got-
like, realistically, what is your plan if it starts to go bad?
I don't know. I mean, Sam
I think
already.
we're quite safe here.
Yeah, in Scotland.
We are
It's
safe. We live in halls.
Not exactly
I won't give you the
habitable
name
for
of the
diseases.
halls because I don't want you guys to come and find me. But we do live in university halls, and I mean we live with a lot of people, all of whom, if one person gets the virus, well, you never know what's going to happen.
We would be fucked.
Yeah, because how many days is it before it shows symptoms again?
It's 2 weeks,
2 weeks.
Yeah,
supposedly.
2 weeks.
something like that.
Yeah. So that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Spread so quickly.
telling these guys earlier about there is a girl in my class who was recently in Milan, and she is currently in quarantine because Italy is showing an awful lot of people who have the virus. If there aren't many more podcasts, you know why.
Yeah, this could be short-lived. Scotland becomes
This is one
infected,
episode.
and we all go into isolation.
I've got a similar situation, mate. I've got a friend down in Winchester in England, and their friends come back from skiing in northern Italy, and has had to self-isolate. I know they don't think they've got it, but it's like they said it was the most like terrifying thing ever to come back home and get basically like advised, well, you come back from northern Italy, do you mind just like fucking off to your house for a couple of weeks before you die? It's a little bit dark.
Yeah, it's true. It would be. What if
I
it's
imagine
quite
it probably would be
scary?
quite scary. Yeah.
Sort of stuck there.
But then, saying that, it's also an excuse to do absolutely nothing, isn't it?
We're currently doing
Well,
that though
we
because
don't
the
need
uni
that,
strike.
But I mean, depending on where you get taken to, when you get back to the country, then they'll provide you with food, and they'll just say, try and get healthy. And if getting healthy involves, sitting down watching loads of TV and loads of films and just getting fed really nice food, well, someone give me coronavirus, please.
It's my kind of prescription.
What?
Kid. We might have to cut this little bit here, right?
Oh, we lost.
Yeah, no,
Charlie.
I'm back now. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Hey, things go wrong. Also, for all you new listeners, we are not established entertainment or producers we're not established in entertainment rather. So we're really doing this on a budget.
Yeah, uni Wi-Fi.
And if anything goes wrong, well, you're just part of the experience. And I would recommend you go along with it and enjoy it, because if there's one thing I have to say about listening to podcasts, at least because I was very interested in them, I have been for probably about the last year, I've really enjoyed them. A lot of them really are run by already famous people, and if you want to see them, you see them in films or whatever, and I think it's a good idea.
It's
to
very
every now and then
sanitised a
click
lot
on
of the
one
time.
and listen to one that has unknown people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I suppose I think we will be quite a scuffed podcast. I imagine whether that will ever change, who knows? But for now, I think that
Who knows? We might get better in the future.
hopefully part of the
comes
charm.
with experience.
Yeah.
You're gonna like it. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of covers. Yeah, I suppose that kind of covers. The potential. What we will have our technical difficulties. But I think it was we were on the topic of sort of
Pre-preparing.
the how actually self-isolation may not be all that bad in terms of you can just have a chill out while you potentially incubate, because I suppose you've got to remember that a lot of these people they don't definitely have it, it's for their own safety, I suppose, and for the safety of others to give them their 2 weeks of isolation in order to see if they have it or not, and then you go from there. But I think even then it's supposedly not quite as bad as depending on who you are. I suppose we would actually most likely be fine because of our age,
strapping young lads like ourselves.
None of the it's generally people with health problems and that sort of thing who seem to be suffering, who it seems to be lethal for.
Yeah, the thing is, it's sad because obviously it's the weakest people who are going to get hurt by it if it actually becomes a problem. The oldest people and the youngest people.
Talking of the older people who've caught coronavirus, I generally had to say the most entertaining thing about this, if there is anything, has been the reaction of British people abroad. Like some of them, especially the people trapped on the cruise ship. I don't know if you saw this morning, but there was
Princess.
There was the elderly couple who were complaining about the fact that they're having to wear the coronavirus masks were ruining their tan. And they're like really, really like tan skin, and they just got like pale bits that like outline a mask on their face.
What if they're already in quarantine?
Can't believe.
Surely it doesn't matter if they wear their mask.
I think it's.
I mean, they're not already in quarantine, I suppose.
The boat
it's more
itself
just, I guess,
is the quarantine.
You might hope. The boat, yeah. But you're kind of hoping you haven't caught it, but I feel like the chances of that are very unlikely, considering, you're in such an enclosed space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's one of those things as well, especially because it's them sort of like trying to self-reassure. Like, if I wear a mask, I'm less likely to get it, or even if they might already have it and just be quarantined.
I like the idea of people just carrying on with their lives as if nothing's wrong, and thinking that a tiny bit of material of your mouth and nose is going to prevent you from getting any virus.
Yeah, it is. It's a funny one. Well, often a lot of the point of the masks, at least if they're not, they're sort of like medical grade masks, is basically just to keep you from infecting other people if you have it. Because you think the amount of times you need to like disinfect that mask, and also to have the right filters on it and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That's not those masks aren't widely available.
Oh, I think
it's more the fact that they're stuck. Sorry.
I read an article, I think yesterday, that was talking about how already masks are being, sold massively in the UK, to the point where they could already run out very soon. That's insane when you think about it.
Especially because we don't even, have the virus. We have a couple of cases, but it's not like it's a risk here as much as it is in many other places.
Well, they had that person yesterday was the first person to get infected in the UK. But I hesitate to say if that was in Wales. I've got a feeling it was in Wales.
First person to catch it directly from somebody else in the UK.
Yeah, rather than just coming in from somewhere else.
Ah, I see. Right. Yeah, because remember, a lot of these are only suspected people who have come from places where there has been coronavirus.
That's true.
Yeah. It's taking away a lot of news coverage. We were talking this morning about this evening, about the fact that the news didn't have the Taliban US treaty at the top, despite that being such a big thing. Oh, yeah. And it highlights just how terrified people are of the coronavirus outbreak. That this is right now, absolutely everywhere.
Actually thinking about that, comparing those two things, when you think about the number of people who've actually died in the Afghan war compared to the number of people who've died in coronavirus, it really shows how worried people are.
Yeah.
It feels very different from swine flu. I remember like during swine flu, there were loads of British comedians who made fun of the difference between American coverage and British coverage. Where like the Americans were like, "Oh my god, you're gonna die all the time," while like British people and the British media were very calm all the time about, it's really not that bad. You're very unlikely to die anyway if you catch it. While for this, it just seems like people are going to absolute meltdown. Like the BBC every day, it's like, oh, the stock market is at the lowest point since 2008 or something like that.
Oh, but that's a separate issue. But yeah, I think obviously the coronavirus can help that.
What I think we should do. I think we should go on strike against the coronavirus.
Oh yeah, obviously works for the lecturers here.
We should protest.
Why not?
We should probably explain that just in case someone's listening who's not from Edinburgh Uni.
That's a somewhat spiteful comment from us, because the lecturers at university, where we are right now, and across the whole of the UK, to be fair, have been striking in favour of better pay. That's fair enough, but that has caused us an awful lot of issues because a lot of our lecturers and teachers have basically just stopped teaching us altogether. And while good for them, you're trying to get a bit more money. Not good for us because we're not getting taught, and the anger is growing. I must say.
This is going to be a slight point where we do disagree because I don't think it's just about the money. Like I have a parent who's a teacher, and it's not just about that pay; it's about workload. And I do understand where they're coming from. That it's less about just having a pay boost; it's more about being paid more in line with the amount of work that they're doing, especially out of contact hours.
Well, I think they're related. I suppose you're right. It's not specifically just they want to be paid more for
their job,
the work that they were doing. It's more they've had their workload increased, which leads to the ideas about more pay. So obviously it's like either decrease our workload or increase our pay to match our new workload. But yeah, you're effectively right. It's an intertwined issue, for them. But obviously it's either way doesn't make a bit of a difference to us, because either way they're striking and we don't have any lectures, and it means that either we have much smaller exams in terms of content, or we actually have to learn all this stuff ourselves.
I wonder if that's similar across countries. Do lecturers strike everywhere? Is that a thing that happens? Well, maybe not in places like Kazakhstan or something, or North Korea, but is that something that's common across in like America and stuff?
Yeah, and it's an interesting one. I wonder if it happens in America as much as it does here.
I've never been to university in America, funnily enough, because I'm university here. But
no, neither have I. Yeah,
sure, it's very similar. I'd be interested to hear if anyone wants to comment about that wherever this gets posted.
Yeah.
US universities, like, I feel it's so weird, but I don't know if it's just because we don't live in the US or we're not American. But US universities, like the top ones, like Stanford, like the Ivy League sort of level, but there's so many like everywhere, and it just almost feels like they're just not recognizable. Because the US just has so many cities, and so many of them have universities or colleges or whatever they want to call it. It's just like really hard to tell the difference between those ones that are outside of the top 10 or whatever.
I think it's a lot of the time. It's I think, because obviously we have unis of, insert city name. You just think the amount of cities that the US has is just a lot bigger than the number of cities we have. And they also have sort of state-named universities as well. So you get like a University of Georgia as well as a university in Atlanta and that sort of thing. Or at least I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. I may be incorrect.
I mean, I don't know. I only really know about universities via movies, American football movies.
Yeah.
Football movies.
I mean, do you not? I get all my knowledge about America through TV.
Yeah, well, I think aside from The Social Network, with I think that was Harvard. But yeah, no, you're effectively right. Basically, all of it is from those sort of, those movies about like American football or sports in general and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, gotta love some sports at the university. I play rugby. For those who don't know, of course you wouldn't know. But no, I play rugby at my university. Sports here, I must say, in the universities in the UK, everyone at university in the UK would know this. But for those of you in America or abroad, sport just really isn't supported in anywhere near to the same capacity it is in the States. I mean, we had a match on Wednesday, and probably about 6 people turned up.
Yeah.
And then obviously,
I think it's because the teams themselves are not. I want to say not like institutionalized. When you're at the US, it's like your team, the uni team, is a like a not like a professional team in itself, but it has that same stature.
No, they often are.
Well, there we go. See,
you think the amount of money some of these kids are paid.
well, that's
they sign
that's
contracts.
probably the point. Then it's like
source
for
for that.
No. College football. Well, I mean, college football is one of the most popular sports.
Is it
in the
Monday
US.
night football or is it Friday night football?
Honestly, I wouldn't know, but I just know, from my American family members, a lot of them will follow college football just as much as they follow, even sometimes more than they follow, the NFL.
Yeah.
See,
And I think a lot of the
imagine.
time, particularly a lot of like uni level teams. If you're at a uni level team, football, let's say, or soccer, whatever you want to call it, wrong.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time at that same
I
level,
was referring to American football.
our football, proper football, association football. If you're at that level at uni, 18, 19, 20 years old, if you were properly into football, like you'd probably go to see the under 18s or under 21 team for your respective club. Like there's not the same reason to sort of go.
Sure.
Not the same reason to want to go watch a uni team when there's an equivalent. And in rugby, they tend to just be like feeder teams for the professional leagues.
Yeah.
Well, I think the difference is obviously like, so you compare. You think a lot of these, these American football players will be, they'll sort of be like discovered, or scouted through these unis. Whereas here, it's it happens way earlier. So for English football / soccer, it's a lot of these players will have been in the respective teams' academies from 14 years old, and they'll have trained and gone through various like sort of rounds where they cut off the less good players. So it's very different. So often a lot of these like professional football players in the UK won't have gone to uni or anything like that. Whereas in the US, obviously they'll have been through that sort of uni system.
Mm-hmm.
There you
A
go.
lot of the time.
No, we're not qualified to talk about this. I must reiterate.
No.
Well, to be fair, there are a lot of teams, particularly like Premier League teams. The two I can think of particularly are the two Manchester teams that compete over basically providing the best schooling system for their younger players. Man City invested however much in building a new school so that they could convince like local Manchester players to join their youth team instead. I think it's really interesting. Like the level of like, I think one thing that really goes under discussed when people talk about investment in football is how like when you build a stadium, you're not just building a stadium, you build like an entire business district in a city.
For new cities,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Well, I mean, like the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium sort of built on, the entire project was the stadium itself, a supermarket basically underneath it, two sets of office buildings, a massive car park, a new subway station, and new roads. Like it goes far beyond that just that level of building a new stadium.
Yeah. Well, I think if we sort of like, I suppose, maybe bring it back a bit more towards like, the uni sport and that sort of thing, and you sort of like you talk about like that level of investment that you get in uni sport compared to other unis in the US or even like compared to school. I know, so like in certain schools you get way more of an investment into sport than you would at uni. And I think that's often, quite a shock because I guess, Charlie, you came from a school where there was a greater, focus on rugby and in sport in general, yeah. And I know my school was the same. So I think it's obviously it's a bit of a difference when you get to uni and you think, oh, actually, there's, it's far less of a big thing here. It often is, just sort of like a lot of it's just for fun, and you don't get kind of the same level of support you might get, maybe because there's a lack of uni spirit, like we're saying, compared to like school spirit, or something like that.
So in other words, we're just being picky. We're saying we need more going on for us, when in reality we actually have an awful lot on for us anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to have the sort of the distractions, I suppose. But yeah,
Cool, very cool.
I know. I mean, this is coming from somebody who is effectively stopped doing any sort of proper sport I used to play badminton,
badminton
a fair
for the
bit,
uni?
played for my school team. You can play badminton for the uni. I joined the club for like a couple of weeks, and it wasn't quite for me, especially because it took a very long time to get a game in. It was often like an hour of waiting around to use a court for then 15 minutes for a game, which I wasn't particularly fond of. Whereas I think obviously that's not quite the same as something like rugby or football, where you're always constantly playing. But obviously, like the uni just doesn't have 50 badminton courts for us to use. They only have 6.
I used to play rugby and then played football for a while, but it was one of those situations where I really enjoyed it. But if I really wanted to like get properly good at it and then invest the time to sort of play in a team properly, I'd have to sacrifice so much of the rest of my life that it just didn't become enjoyable anymore.
I need free time. I mean, I like doing sport, but I need free time as well. I need to watch TV.
I think it's such a commitment. I mean, look at the sort of social situation with rugby players and football players, hockey players at uni, where one of your nights out where you could just go out with your mates is sort of like monopolized by having to go to a sports social. And you have to go to those, and you have to do specific events and stuff like that.
That's an interesting topic to talk about.
It's almost like a similar situation to like club promoters who basically sacrifice one of their nights out a week where they have to go somewhere. They're like, everyone else in their friend group might be like, okay, let's go to this one club, and then they're like, no, sorry, like I'm not contracted, but if I want to keep making money from this, I have to go to this one.
Well, I suppose the club promoter thing is a bit different, but yeah, no, you're right. So obviously a lot of the sort of sportsmen here are, you almost become attached to that particular community. But it's the same as anything. You get a group of friends from somewhere, be that your subject, your halls, any societies you're involved in, that sort of thing. But I think you don't really get as much of a choice if you're as heavily involved in sport, especially if you're one of the top teams, where you'll be having matches once or twice a week. You'll have multiple training sessions and that sort of thing. So obviously the people you're spending the most time with are the other sportsmen.
Do you remember that at the start of this episode we said we were going to talk about the news?
I did.
Well, we did.
It has gone on a good tangent.
I suppose linking it back to uni.
Yeah.
Did you hear that the Prime Minister is having a baby, getting married?
Yeah.
We spoke about this earlier.
That is true.
It's almost
the first time.
It's a bit like celebrity.
Yes.
It feels like a celebrity news situation.
It does.
Yeah, it is sort of the type of thing you see in the Daily Mail, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's on everything. You can look up any news source, it'll be on there.
Oh yeah, but you often, the Daily Mail will tell you who's pregnant now with whose baby and that sort of thing, whereas that would never show up on the BBC.
Crazy.
But obviously,
that is a fair.
For the Prime
that is a
Minister,
fair point.
to.
Do you think it'll be televised? Do you think loads of people will watch it?
What do you mean? Not the birth? No, but I was about to say, do you mean like the royal baby, where like he came out?
Yeah.
And was like, "Here's my child."
Yeah.
I'd love to see Boris do that.
You remember how Kate turned up to the wedding and everything in a massive wedding dress, and everyone was like, "Wow, that's crazy." And then do you think Boris is going to turn up in some insane suit, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh, I wonder who made that."
Well,
They probably would not. I hadn't considered that. They probably would
Yeah, they
televise
will.
it, won't
They
they?
must do.
They'll televise the wedding, not the.
yeah, no, I know. I was about to like.
Um,
I was very confused there. Like, are they getting married soon? When are they supposed to be getting married?
In the summer.
Probably.
In the summer.
Well, I imagine there's some sort of taboo over like having a baby out of wedlock as the Prime Minister, that sort of thing.
Well, there
Sam,
go.
you were at
When they marry, Boris Johnson will become the first Prime Minister to tie the knot in office since the Earl of Grafton in 1769.
Yeah, I was just reading that they became the
BBC
first
News.
unmarried couple to occupy Downing Street when they moved in last year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Whole new world
interesting one.
politics, that's for sure.
Yeah. And of course, you get Instagrams as well of this. I was just reading about that. You have all these posts on their Instagrams. Again, your new age of politics with your social media using
It's
politics.
really weird that we get Snapchats from Boris Johnson.
Well,
I
See,
find
it's-
that really funny.
as someone who's not like a supporter of the Conservatives, I find it really hard not to like. It almost forces you to feel a little bit more like human towards Boris Johnson. I know it sounds. What I'm saying, like, I'm not
He's a robot.
Yes, I'm not saying that way, but I mean, it's like if you're not a supporter of the Conservatives, like the general idea is that they are disconnected from the people. Like that's one of the biggest criticisms that people who don't support them have. But it's really hard to do that when you see him like on his Snapchat, like trying to be like a dad, like fitting in with the kids.
Yeah, that is the. I suppose that's the difference between a lot of. I mean, the problem is the one you always want to compare it to is Donald Trump, of course, with his just like constant Twitter usage. But I think
that's way too much.
It serves a different
way too much.
But I think it serves a different purpose for Boris. It's a way of, like he says, getting in touch with the kids to an extent.
But I mean, in terms of Trump, I mean, whether you're pro him or against him, it doesn't really matter. Surely you must realise that if you send a tweet out at 3 a.m. in the morning, you must be doing something wrong. Surely, I mean, go to sleep.
Yeah,
Obama was a bit weird when he started to really tap into that social media side. I remember just after he left office, about a year in, and he started talking about like memes and flexing and stuff like that. And I didn't know whether or not to feel it was forced or if it was natural.
But that's more like the Boris thing, if that's using social media to get in touch with a different.
But then again, you have to ask why, because he wasn't going back into office, and it wasn't like they were going to struggle to sell book deals and stuff like that.
And that leads me, actually, you're right. So he's doing that sort of stuff after office. Was Trump tweeting as much before?
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know. I never followed him.
Knew. I mean, I knew of Trump before, but I can't say I knew of Donald Trump.
Well, I think we'd all seen him in.
I was about to say that was like my earliest memory of Donald Trump is Home Alone.
I didn't even know he was in it until I watched Home Alone at Christmas 2 years ago.
Wow. Oh,
I really haven't watched a lot of Christmas movies. It's one of those things that I just didn't grow up doing.
You haven't watched any?
Home Alone.
We watched the Doctor Who Christmas special. That tends to be like the normal
Christmas movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like instead of watching, so the time that you normally spend watching a Christmas movie on Christmas, my family thing was to sit down and watch Doctor Who for that day.
Oh no, I don't think we'd ever watch a Christmas movie on Christmas Day.
Oh right, well there we go. That shows my sort of like.
I mean, you've got to think about, because you were just coming out of school, so you had the Christmas holidays, and then you'd have maybe a week before Christmas where you're doing nothing, and that's when I'd watch the Christmas movie.
See, I don't know, because my school sometimes went off like a couple days before Christmas.
Really?
Like the 23rd.
There you go, Scottish schools.
Well, yeah, 22nd, 23rd was like quite a common time to go off for Christmas holidays.
Oof. But then surely you were late afterwards.
Yeah, we sort of came back mid-January. We
can't imagine that.
We got quite long summer holidays, to be fair.
No.
Yeah, I mean, God, I hope so.
And the school I went to
I hope so. A long summer now.
School I went to, we had a holiday sort of mid-October. We got a week off.
Fun.
Yeah.
Blank airspace.
Right. Well, we can.
Well, I think we sort of this is a
Tape
bit where we could get really naturally reach.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if we necessarily have to end right now.
We didn't talk about
we did.
how can we move. We can cut this bit out, but how can we move into the US and Taliban part?
I don't want to cut this bit out. This is going to still be a podcast, and you guys are going to be listening. You're going to be enjoying. Because you have to realise that not everyone's perfect.
Okay.
This is our first major podcast.
Yeah, but I think that message comes across regardless of, we don't need this bit just to show that. It's like it's been professional so far.
If I'm going to say something, it's going to be that this will be a professional podcast at some point.
That's
our quirk. That's we might not be very good right now, but we will be at some point.
One day we'll be professional.
One news story that I saw that I kind of wanted to speak about.
Thank you.
Was a bit of a.
Sorry, please.
But it was a bit of a weird incident I read about the other day. It was maybe this morning. About this Moscow pool party where this vlogger, because everyone was really hot, sort of in the sauna room, and they had a swimming pool inside, and people were complaining about it being hot. So the Instagram influencer, yeah, I mean this is Russian, so you probably can pronounce this a lot better. But yeah,
Hey, I can provide something here.
Actually
provide something.
Yekaterina Didenko.
Well, that's just a name, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know. Is there like something? Is that? Do you recognise either of those parts of names that I'm pronouncing wrong?
I don't know. I don't have it on me.
Right. But her decision was to chuck a bag of dry ice into the pool, which, like, I
And then it made the pool really cold.
no, but yeah, for one, but also like killed, how many? 3 people in the swimming pool, because obviously when you it's carbon dioxide and they had no ventilation in the room.
Dioxide.
But it's stuff like this, especially when you have like big parties and stuff like that. It really like upsets me when people do stuff like this, because it's such a strange decision.
Sure.
You have so many like different. If you're like, I'm hot, well, go like out of the room, try and find somewhere to cool down or something like that. Why is your first thing that you jump to throw a bag of chemicals into a swimming pool? It just seems.
Yeah, well, that's just lack of knowledge, really. I wouldn't really.
Well,
see,
to quote that
just being
famous
an
song, Rasputin, those crazy Russians.
That was crazy.
That's crazy.
But to be fair, I'm saying this, but who would do that? And then they're like, to be fair, the Russians are definitely the sort of people who would do this sort of thing. Not to stereotype in a bad way, but like, if you're gonna go big, you might as well. But I do
cold,
like
at least.
Russia have gone bigger.
Yeah, if you've gone big, Russia.
you were saying lack of
Right,
lack of.
we're going to end there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We are going to end there because otherwise we're just going to keep going. Thank you for listening to the very first episode of Uni Fied, our brand new podcast. Here's hoping we make it to 100 episodes.
Oofed indeed.
I mean, based on this one, who knows? But thank you for listening, and if you can, please tell anyone you know about this podcast, because we just want it to grow, and the more it grows, the better it will be. So please tell everyone, upvote it on whatever platform you're listening on, and once again, thank you very much for listening, and see you next time. Bye bye.